Assalamu alaikum everyone. This is Dr. Sayyada Tahreem Kamal, and today we will be discussing the fourth part of this lipid. You have already done with the simple and compound lipids, so I'm expecting you have a clear concept about simple and compound lipids. So, starting with the derived lipids are the lipids which are obtained or which formed after the hydrolysis of simple and compound lipids. And the hydrolysis products can be the glycerol and alcohols, fatty acid, monoacyl, diacyl glycerols, some vitamins, steroid hormones, hydrocarbons, and ketone bodies. Okay. Um, the derived lipid, the most important part of this derived lipid is the sterol structure, their sterol structure, or mainly their sterol ring, which determines its functions and its capability of doing all the things. The speciality of these sterol ring are that they don't have any ether bonding, as we discussed previously, that this all the lipids have ether bond in them, but sterol have does not have any ether bond. Sterol are the carbons with multiple ring structure, and we will gonna discuss about what is that ring structure. Then they are the hydrophobic. They are completely hydrophobic and lipophilic and contain no fatty acid. Cholesterol is the best known sterol which we all familiar with, and it is found in the animal products. So this is the main structure of a sterol ring. This is it contains four ring structure. Three of them are the hexane ring, while one is the pentacarbon structure. This is a very important structure, and you should also have some orientation about this structure. This structure help its hydrophobic nature. And the important part of this structure is that if you recall from your previous lecture, that all the hormones, or all the messages which are carrying on in our body needs to be transferred within the cell by second messenger system. But these sterol ring compounds does not need any second messenger system, and they can pass through the cell membrane and directly act on the nucleus. So if we discuss about the cyclic structure of this steroid nucleus, the steroid nucleus have phenanthrene nucleus, which contain ABC ring, which is this ABC ring, while the D ring is the cyclopentane ring, which have five carbon structure. Biologically important group of substances which contain this ring are sterols, which are the hormones, steroid hormones. Then they are present in the adrenal cortical hormones, male and female sex hormone, as we discussed that. These sex hormones are very important in determination of individual sexuality. If there is any malformation of these hormone, or if there is any disorder related to this hormone, it will cause a disparity in the sexuality of an individual. Then it is involving in the vitamin D group, which is a vitamin D hormone, a very important in the regulation. It is a vitamin as well as hormone. It important in the regulation of calcium and different metabolic pathways of our body. Then bile acids, which are very important emulsifier of our body. Then the cardiac glycosides. Okay, the most important and well-known component of a sterol group. Okay, these drive lipids include three major compound, that are cholesterol, terpenes, and the third is the carotenoids. These three are the part of the drive lipid, but we are more we here we will more discuss about the cholesterol. The cholesterol is very important sterol in the animal tissue as a free alcohol and in esterified form. Okay, what is this esterified form? Previously, we discussed that these sterol does not have any fatty acid attached to them. In cholesterol, a fatty acid will attach to its pentane these ring structure, and this attachment of this free fatty acid will causes it to become more soluble. This esterification occurs when this cholesterol is transported in within the body. Then steroid hormones. Okay, cholesterol is important. Basically, cholesterol have three major function. One, it helps in the synthesis of steroid hormones. Second, it helps in the formation of a bile salt. Third is the formation of vitamin D. Vitamin D also have the steroid ring in it. Okay, the fourth one is which is a very important function of cholesterol is the maintenance of the fluidity of the cell membrane. As we know that the cell membrane is phospholipid layer, and this cholesterol between this phospholipid layer make it more fluid, make it more permeable for the substances to pass from the cell membrane. So cholesterol determines the permeability of the cell membrane. Then it have important role in the structural and metabolic function in adrenal cortex and brain. In brain, it help in the neuronal cells in the conductivity and different transportation. So it obtained within the body from the metabolism of acetyl CoA, which you will know in the further lectures that what is acetyl CoA. It is formed from the acetyl CoA within the body, and it can also be taken in the diet in butter, milk, egg yolk, brain, meat, and animal fat. It is highly contained in animal products. So this is the cholesterol structure. If you see it, it also contain this four ring structure, which is a steroid ring structure. At the carbon 3, it have an alcohol attached, and on the other side it have a hydrocarbon chain structure attached. If this hydrocarbon chain contains a fatty acid in the esterified form, then it becomes more soluble, and it will be helpful for the body to transport in the blood to one part to the another part. So this structure is called as cyclopentanoperhydrophenanthine ring. This is the name of this structure, but you should know this basic outline of this structure, so you can recognize it when this ring appear in any compound. If we see the physical properties of this cholesterol ring, it has an hydroxyl group on C3, which we discussed, a double bond between C5, C6. Okay, this thing you have to be remembered. This ring structure is not the benzene ring structure. So there is only one double bond present in it at the position 5, C5 and C6. Then at the C8 position, there is a asymmetric carbon atom and a side chain of 8 carbon atom, which are attached to it. Then it is a yellowish crystalline structure. It is insoluble in water. We know that it have a nature of hydrophobic. It is hydrophobic in nature. It is soluble in organic solvent. Hence, it is important for the transportation of cholesterol. Sorry, water insoluble vitamins and minerals. It is found in all the animal cells, corpus luteum, adrenal cortex, and human brain. About 70% it is present in the human brain. In the blood, the total cholesterol amount is about 200 milligram per dl, of which is about two two-third of it is esterified and chiefly to unsaturated fatty acid, while the remainder occur as a free cholesterol. Okay, this thing you will discuss when you will learn about the transportation of a lipid. This esterified cholesterol and free cholesterol will be helpful in that. uh, okay, if we see the chemical properties, okay, they are important source for the bile salts, as we discussed that in the intestinal bacteria, these cholesterol will reduced into the coprosterol and dihydrocholesterol, which will be further metabolized. Okay, another thing which is very important in this cholesterol metabolism is that it it is a source for the vitamin D3. Um, we all know that if there we in our population there is very it's so there is very common vitamin D deficiency which we can observe, and we also when a patient came to us, we just said that there is a vitamin D deficiency, you should have milk and other thing in your diet. But what we should know is that what are the source of vitamin D. The vitamin D have two sources, which is a plant source and the animal source. By from animal, it gets in the form of 7 dehydrocholesterol, which on the exposure to ultraviolet light is converted to vitamin D3. And if this process is not occurring in anyone's body, if there is less vitamin precursor in our body, or if there is less exposure to ultraviolet rays, then it will lead to the vitamin D deficiency, and its deficiency will result into the rickets, which is the abnormal bone formations in the children's, and in the adults it will cause osteomalacia. Other functions are, it is a major component of the cell membrane, as I already told you, which is important in the nerve and brain tissue, conduct in nerve conduction and brain tissues in the different form of transportation. It is helpful. Then there is a it is a precursor for vitamin D and estrogen, which is estrogen, prostaglandins, progesterones and testosterone. These are the hormones which are synthesized from the cholesterol. It is important in the synthesis of bile acid. Okay, then ergosterol. Previously, I told you that vitamin D have two sources. One is the animal source, which we already discussed. The second is the ergosterol, which is a plant source. From plant, we get vitamin D2 in the form of ergosterol, and the similar manner by on the irradiation of UV light, it will convert it into D2 and D3 respectively, from the different metabolic pathway and different enzyme. Okay, this is some history of ergosterol, which is the first isolated from ergot, which is a fungus or yeast. Then from the after fungus, it is also isolated from the yeast. Ergosterol is less stable than the cholesterol because of having three double bond, and you know that more the double bond present in a structure, it is more capable of reacting with the other substances. Okay, this is the structure of 70 hydrocholesterol, and this is the structure of the ergosterol. This is the structure of cholesterol, and after the different conversion by different enzymes in our body, it converted into the vitamin D3. Okay, now bile acids. We all know that till now we have discussed how lecithins and other these phospholipids helpful in the emulsification of the digestive compound. There is another compound which is present in the bile which help in the emulsification, which is the bile salts and bile acids. These bile acids are also formed from the cholesterol in the liver. Cholesterol is break down to produce cholic acid and deoxycholic acid. This in the body, in the intestine, cholic acid is most abundant. Then is the deoxycholic acid, and the last one is the deoxycholic acid. This acids then conjugate with amino acid glycine and taurine, and then produce to glycolic acid and glyco. If these two compound combine with glycine, they are called as a glycocholic acid and glycosinodeoxycholic acid. And if they combine with the taurine, then they are called as taurocholic acid and taurochinodeoxycholic acid. So these are the conjugated form of this bile acids. Then they can also react with the sodium and potassium to produce the sodium and potassium bile salts. Okay, these are the acids when they are in the form of when they combine with the glycine and taurine, which is amino acid, and they become the salt when they combine with the salts, matlab ions. Okay, now the functions of these bile acids. They are important emulsification. They are important in the emulsification of lipids during the digestion. They are help in digestion of other food stuff like drugs. Different drugs needs bile acids to get absorbed. Then they are helpful in activation of pancreatic lipase. They are helpful in digestion and absorption of fat soluble vitamins. They are helpful in solubilize the cholesterol in bile and prevent the gallstone formation. If you know that the gallstone are formed due to the accumulation of this bile salt in the gallbladder. Then there is a choleretic action of them. They stimulate their own secretion, and then they are intestinal antiseptic that can prevent the putrefaction within our gut. Okay, this is the picture which should be in the previous slide, but it is here somehow. Okay, these are the cholesterol present within the phospholipid layer, and it helpful in the maintaining the fluidity of the cell membrane. If there is more cholesterol, then the plasma membrane is more fluid in nature, and it passes uh, substances very easily. And if there is a lack of cholesterol in this plasma membrane, then it will form a compact structure and will not allow any substance to pass from it. Then lipid in the body. Okay, now how these lipid transport in the body, which I always said that these lipids are transported in the body. The lipid in the body transported in these five form. These are nothing. These are just the lipid packages where this in the missile. I will tell you what is missile. In a missile, or in a vacuole form in within the blood. So there are different type of these vacuole. The first is the chylomicron, then very low density lipoprotein, intermediate density lipoprotein, low density lipoprotein, and high density lipoprotein. Here, if you see a report from a patient which have lipid profile in it, then if there is more low density lipoprotein, then it is an alarming sign. And if there is a high density lipoprotein more, then this is a good sign. So high density lipoprotein is an angel for our body, while the low density lipoprotein is not good for our body. Here, um, if you are thinking that why I'm saying low density lipoprotein is bad for our body, it's because Here the density is denoting the protein part of this vacuole. So in low density lipoprotein it have less protein but higher cholesterol or higher lipid in it, while the higher density lipoprotein have more lipid more protein uh, and less cholesterol and lipid in it. So this is the dismissal or structure or vacuolar structure where this cholesterol and lipid transported within the body. So it consists of a phospholipid layer, the the hydrophilic part facing the atmosphere, because our internal atmosphere is hydrophilic. So this hydrophilic part is facing outward, while the this tail, hydrophobic tail, is facing the inward, which the interior atmosphere is hydrophobic. It have a cholesterol, fatty acid, triglycerides, of esterified cholesterol, a different lipid compound in it. So this is the structure of chylomicron. Within this phospholipid layer, there is some proteins peeking through this phospholipid layer. These are the proteins helpful in the recognition, in the identification of these vacuoles, and in this lipoprotein structure, these protein called apoprotein, and different structure. Different vacuoles, the different lipoprotein have different this apoprotein, and these apoprotein determines its nature of lipoprotein. So, what is the importance in the diseases related to the this lipid and cholesterol? Cholesterol is well known for causing its pathology in heart diseases, especially in causing a heart attack, which is also called as myocardial infarction. About 58 million American have at least one form of CVD, which is cardiovascular diseases. Cardiovascular diseases represent the stroke, hypertension, and coronary artery or coronary heart disease. About 1 in 9 women and 1 in 6 men aged 45 to 64 year of age have some form of heart disease. Okay, according to I think so this is the old statistics. So according to new statistics, so women are more in the Pakistan, the women are more having more presentable or the presentations of this coronary artery disease on the ECG than the males. Otherwise, women are protected from heart disease due to the presence of a special hormone in them, which is oxytocin. So what the cholesterol cause, which lead to the heart attack. The cholesterol basically causing accumulation within the this cholesterol cause the accumulation within the lumen of these arteries which are carrying blood to the heart or the brains. This all starts from the initial injury, which could be due to hypercholesterolemia, oxidized LDL, hypertension, smoking, diabetes, homocysteine, and diet. All these combined cause the increases of atherosclerosis within the vessels. So, what is the atherosclerosis? Atherosclerosis is the abnormality. This is the normal interior of the artery. Let's suppose it is a coronary artery. It can be any artery, but mostly coronary artery or cerebral arteries are mostly involved because they are the minute arteries, and they can damage easily, and they are carrying so much blood of our body. So that's why. So the initial injury which can cause by anything: smoking, hypertension, hyperlipids. Which this injury will lead to the accumulation of cholesterol and oxidized LDL within the lumen of this artery, which eventually cause the plug formation, leading to the occlusion of this lumen of the artery, and ultimately causes much deficit of blood to the heart, that heart uh, get hypoxic and will lead to the heart attack. What are the lipid related risk factors for cardiovascular diseases? That high LDL cholesterol and low LDL cholesterol will be the alarming sign for a person. Then a diet high in cholesterol is also very bad for those who have a history of coronary artery disease, or who have a positive family history of coronary artery disease or cardiovascular diseases. Then a diet high in saturated fatty acid. Up till now, you should know that what are the saturated fatty acids. Saturated fatty acids are those fatty acids which does not have any double bond left in their structure, and they are solid at the room temperature. So they have more chances to get solidify in within our body as well. Then a diet high in trans fatty acid. Trans fatty acids are those fatty acids who have other than the normal configuration of this double bond orientations. So what are these trans fatty acids? These trans fatty acids are, in normal life we are getting this trans fatty acid in the form of margarines, ghee. These are the trans fatty acids, and which is not good for our health. Trans fatty acids tend to raise the total blood cholesterol level, but less than more saturated fatty acids. Trans fatty acid also tend to raise the LDL cholesterol, which is a bad cholesterol for our body, and lowers the HDL cholesterol, which is a good cholesterol for our body. It is not clear if trans fatty fats that occur naturally have the same effect as those produced by the hydrogenating vegetable oil, which I already told you. These ghees and margarines are the trans fatty acids, but its role is up till now not proven yet. So, the Food and Drug Administration has proposed that the amount of trans fatty acid in the food be included in the nutritional facts panel. Okay. Now, I always, previously, I repeatedly said about missile. What is missile? These are the missile structures. Okay. First, you have to know what is the amphipathic lipids. These are the amphipathic lipid, or you can say that a phospholipid is basically a amphipathic lipid. It have an polar group attached to one side, and hydrocarbon chain or any fatty acid chain which is hydrophobic in nature is attached to another side. So they have dual nature within a same compound, that is hydrophilic at one side and hydrophobic on the other side. These compounds, when arrange themselves into a vacuole, this vacuole is called micelle. Okay, now what this missile do? Lipids are insoluble in water, and we all know that, and predominance of non-polar hydrocarbon group. As I said earlier, that lipid are hydrophobic and they are not soluble in water, and our body interior environment is hydrophilic. So how can we transport this lipid in our body? This transportation will occur in the form of this missile. So fatty acids, phospholipids, sphingolipids, bile salts, and to a lesser extent cholesterol contain polar group, that is both polar and non-polar. So these are the substances which are carrying within the micelles. So, okay, such molecules are described as amphipathic lipids. So they become oriented at oil water interface with the polar group in the water phase and the non-polar in the oil phase. I already told you that. Basic structure in the biological membrane is this phospholipid layer, which we see that this biological membrane is a double phospholipid layer. So when a critical concentration of these lipid is present in an aqueous medium, they form the micelles. These are the micelles orientation which we saw earlier. Then the micelle further form the liposomes, and these liposomes are the packages which transport the substance within the cell or outside the cell as well. It can be used for the drug delivery, emulsion, ointments, cancer therapy, targeted drug delivery. These all are the functions which are performed by these missiles. Okay, now let's have some quiz. Okay, give yourself 2 to 3 minutes to answer these questions, and you can find the answer within this presentation in the note bar. So these are 4 questions. Try to answer them before before go to the answer directly. Okay. So these are the questions. These are a small assignment just to recall your all the previous knowledge. Uh, okay, thank you for listening. If you have any questions and any query, you can ask. I will be more than happy to answer them.